thank you for being here with us today. We chose you for this interview because you're the person that recently came with iOS, but you made some changes that have really great impact, and we really appreciate that. So, in this introductory part, we would like you to tell us something about academic and professional background, if you could, please.
I didn't mean to make changes. I mean, that was a mistake, probably. Okay, academic background. This is an interesting subject because when you talk about academic backgrounds, of course, you look at what's out there today, right? You have genetics, you have bioengineering, you have other types of engineering, you have social science, so on and so forth. But even though some of those names stay the same, the content changes a lot. So when you look at your future, when you're a young person, you say, what should I be? You tend to review what you have, what your interests are, what your interests could be, what other people are, because you're more influenced, I think, when you're young by other people. And then you also look at the capabilities, but you also look at your available, the opportunities, what's out there. So back then, I was very interested in math and physics, but as a young kid. But my family, I'm sure other people have had this experience. My family, people around me, they would always say, "Oh, be a doctor, be an engineer, make money, because if you're a physicist, you're not going to make enough money." But I was really interested in physics. That partly comes probably from my father, because he was really interested in physics.
So you had your family support?
The family
for science?
Yes, well, supportive, but they said, go do something in engineering. I said, okay, or as I said, medicine. Interesting, they never said law, because that also requires a lot of thought, doesn't it? Or they didn't say veterinary medicine, for example. That would have been good, because I like dogs. But anyway, so I went into engineering, but I didn't want to go into electrical engineering or mechanical engineering. My father's a mechanical engineer. And industrial engineering was a new subject back then. And they told me that industrial engineers deal with systems. Now, systems has a very pleasant ring to it, to me. I'm really interested in systems. What I really should say is I'm interested in things that are outside the domain of a reductionist view. Okay, outside the domain of the analytical thinking that we have. So things like emergent behavior, things like complexity, those things back then. And interesting enough, back in the 60s, those were popular topics. People were talking about that. The Club of Rome people were doing, simulating the world, for example, what's going to happen to the world in the year 2000, that type of stuff. And the computers were new, and they were using computer simulations to figure out what's going to happen to this. Climate research, climate simulation was in infancy. So you hear about all these things. And there's also this idea that system scientists deal a little bit with computers, and computers are things of the future. We've never seen one computer, but we knew that computers were coming. A little bit like now, when you talk about genetics and bioengineering, you talk about all these genetic things that in the future we're going to be able to grow, organs or something like that. And people say, oh, this is interesting, but I've never seen one yet. It was just like that. So I chose to go into industrial engineering, to make the long story short, because I was interested in systems, and that's where I could find the most content, systems content. They had things like operations research, statistical modeling, computer modeling. Those things were in industrial engineering, so I went to industrial engineering. But I didn't really do much traditional industrial engineering in the sense of production engineering. Of course, we did many projects in those things, you have to, but my philosophical and academic interests were always in the system side of things.
Okay, so did your university provide enough opportunities to develop that?
Well,
where you're studying?
No. University, that's not the job of the university. Okay? When you talk about something completely outside the box, completely new, okay, you want to do something completely new, the university doesn't know something completely new. The university should prepare you for the basic foundation, and then you go completely new. You see what I mean? I mean, nobody taught Shakespeare how to write all those things. Or nobody taught Bach how to write all the music. They gave him the foundation, and then...
And skills.
And skills, foundation to develop those skills. And then you go forth from there. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Otherwise the system would not be growing. Otherwise the system would always be limited to what you can teach. You see? So in a sense that was good. But what that means is the system, maybe we can frame the question this way, instead of the university provide me with everything I need to know to become a good systems engineer. No, but did it provide me with the flexibility to go in many different directions, to encourage me, and then after the work they would go back and critically read it and say, yes, those things, I was very lucky in that sense, because all my mentors were open-minded, were progressive, and they understood that different people will come up with different ideas, and they will evaluate it and they will provide the feedback. Even if it's not your own idea, you should be able to review it, right? Isn't that what Aristotle said? You know, it's the mark of an intellect or intellectual person that you can entertain ideas even though they're not your own ideas. That type of arguments, you see. So in that sense, I was very lucky. Some universities nowadays I see are very conservative, and they say there's one truth and this is the way it is, and you need to do the way I do it. That type of education, unfortunately, is not conducive to this type of work.
Yeah, it's different depending on the region where the university is. Where did you study?
Well, my undergraduate is in Turkey, and my graduate work is in the United States.
Okay. You did your PhD in America?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Did you face any challenges during your academic years?
Challenges?
Challenges like difficulties, different situations that you were found in.
Well, I think there's a common, when you do a PhD, I think there's a relatively common phase that all PhD students go through. After about second or third year, they get to a point where they're a little bit dissatisfied with what they've done. They probably thought that they would do a lot more, grab the tiger by the, well, you can't grab the tiger by the horns, but you can grab the bull by the horns and ride the tiger and you go full steam ahead and then you come after second year and say, gosh, this takes a lot of time. You've got to do all the paperwork, you've got to write this stuff, you've got to do the experiments, and you wanted to do so much, but then you realize, and then it comes a point where you say, well, your mentor says, well, this is good enough for a PhD, this is good enough for the paper, this is good enough for the report, and then you have all this energy that you haven't really put on paper, and then that is a little disconcerting. That really, truly is a little disappointing. And then there's a little bit of a phase where you're melancholic. You say, oh, I wish I could do more. Why don't I do more?
But you did some research.
Oh, yeah.
What was the topic we could...
Well, my work was actually on stochastic processes. It was what we would call queuing networks or serial queues, tangent queues.
New field for us. We are not very familiar with, but it sounds interesting.
Well, it's really the application of probability theory to processes that change over time. Okay, so things happen, but they happen at random intervals, or they happen for random durations. And you want to study this process over time that has a lot of probabilistic elements in it. Things like that.
Great. So today you are Professor, Dean of Faculty of Engineering and Natural Sciences, and we hope that you are satisfied with your position. You seem very happy man. Are you satisfied? What made you to accept this position at iOS?
I'm always happy. I mean, why wouldn't you be happy? You have to be happy. You're either happy or sad, or you're neutral, I guess. But it's your choice. So yeah.
I mean, you enjoy this position, teaching, acting like a
working
function here.
I enjoy it very much because even when I'm not in a good mood, actually I should show you, my friends come and they put this note on my door when I'm not in a good mood. You see, it says that he was not in a good mood. Somebody wrote still there. But usually I'm in a good mood. Yeah, sure. Bosnia is a very special place. Now let me tell you something. People ask me why do you come to Bosnia, and I'm at an age where I could have been retired, or I could be retired. Actually, in 2 years, I'm going to have to be retired according to Bosnian law. But my mother's father's grandfather, so my maternal grandfather, was from this region probably. And we always heard that your father, or my mom used to say, or she still says, your grand-grandfather came from the Balkans. And we don't know exactly where, but I think this region, because I look a little bit like the Bosnians. But when I go to some of the mountain villages, they start talking to me in Bosnian.
Yes, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
You're sharing that with us.
So I wanted to come to Bosnia to see, all the good stuff, the food and the air and the people. I was very moved in the 90s when they had the war. I was in the U.S. working very hard. But I would always, because of this connection, family connection, I would always be looking at what's happening in Sarajevo, what's happening in the Balkans, what's happening in Bosnia. And I remember, the sad moments, things happened. For a lot of people outside Bosnia, this was something that they watched the news, but I had a personal connection, I felt like. So I always thought, one day I should go there and spend some time, maybe a few weeks, a few months and stuff like that. So, but when the opportunity came that, hey, I can spend good time there, and I can get to know the people even better, the region better, and see really my grandfather's grandfather came from this region, because I can feel that. In genetics we have this thing that there's a resonance when you go back to your grandfather's village. And you probably didn't see that in your lectures yet, but it'll come. There's this whole gene that is activated. And then you say, oh yeah, I remember this. It's like deja vu. And so this is why it's a very special place for me. This university has a lot of potential. But it also has a lot of challenges. And another interesting thing, the challenges that you face here are unlike the challenges that I see in the US or in Europe. Okay, or in the Far East. I've been to Cambodia and China. Cambodia is a little closer because Cambodia had a war in the 70s. But the challenges that you have here in Bosnia are quite unique. So from a systems engineering point of view, and when I say systems engineering, it doesn't have to be just mechanical systems or engineering systems. We can include into that social systems, the psychology, the anthropology, and so on and so forth. Did I say I did my minor in anthropology? I didn't.
No.
Because that's also that's also systems type thing, culture. So when you look at the challenges here at this university and in this region, they're different. But interestingly, there's something about the mix that makes you optimistic. In other words, maybe a simple way to say that is, these are challenges that could be overcome. It's not hopeless, like some people think. Yeah, no, really. There's enormous potential to be optimistic. Yes, there are some severe challenges, but there are also some good opportunities that we can overcome these challenges. So that's what makes this job very interesting. And of course, it's the people. It's not the curriculum. It's the students, the faculty, the administrative staff. That makes the difference between being very successful and not being successful in any of the projects that you pick. Let's say a curricular project or graduation or certain programs, so on and so forth. Really hinges upon the people and how the people as a group would behave. So, and I think deep down, almost everybody in this context here at IUS has good intentions. They all wanted to be successful, let's put it that way.
I hope that we are all hardworking students, that we can accomplish something really important and contribute to this society. We are trying.
I think so, yes, I think so. And being open-minded is part of that, because some people, for example, may want to go abroad, they have relatives abroad, they want to go to Germany, they want to go to the US, that's fine. There are solutions within any given set of parameters, you see. And hard work is not necessarily the only thing. A while ago you said, are you happy? And you could create this happiness within this, if you have a good support group, if you have good camaraderie, good solidarity, people understand each other. Understanding is important. You don't have to be of the same opinion, but as long as you understand people and take it at face value that their values and their opinions could be different. You see, that's a big challenge in most geographies. Here in Bosnia, I think because of the history of Bosnia, because there's been so much mix, this has been a melting pot. I mean, you have the historic things, the prehistoric things in Bosnia. I mean, if you go to the pyramids, that's where the aliens landed, I know. Yeah, Visiko, was it? Visiko, yeah, pyramids, big. I mean, you had all these civilizations. The Romans come, the Byzantine come, the Macedonians, the Philip the Great, the Ottomans, all these things come and go, come and go, come. So there's a melting pot. You can sense that here in Bosnia, and that diversity sometimes allows you to think in a global sense. I think if one were born in Bosnia and raised in Bosnia, it may be difficult to see that how open-minded the environment is and how multicultural this is. But it's very apparent when you come from the outside. At first it looks conservative. At first it looks like everybody's from a certain religion, from a certain group, talking. But when you talk to your friends, you see that there's a great deal of diversity.
Yeah, this university is really rich in different nationalities, and we are all good friends and respecting each other, so that's really important for harmony, for you as professors and for us as students.
Yeah, there's a lot of camaraderie. I know sometimes they even copy each other's homework.
That's plagiarism.
Oh, okay. I thought that was...
So, could you, for example, please describe us one of your working days briefly? What do you do when you come to work? You teach, you do some administrative stuff, or what?
What do you think I do?
Oh, I couldn't possibly imagine that.
No, what do you think I do? What do you think a dean does?
Some important stuff.
Yeah, very important. Very important.
Besides teaching.
Teaching?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if you notice, my door's always open, all the way open. Did you notice that? It's always open.
Yes.
I'm
You
always
go out
here.
and leave your office empty.
I leave my office empty. Even when I'm in the office, it's empty. And then people come and go at any time. I'm a very hands-on person. I'm a person, I guess. People person. People person. I like to talk to people. I like to know what's going on. What are people's ideas? What are people's ambitions? Are they happy? Are they sad? What are they doing? You have to pick up these things. This I get from my mom. My mom said, I'm going to raise you with a lot of empathy. And she still does. And sometimes my friends say, Sencer, you think like a woman. I said, thank you. That's good. Because women have, we typically have, 5 senses?
Yes, 5 basic senses.
Women have 6, my mom said, so I'm learning this.
Oh, we have much more than that.
Oh, more than that?
Yeah.
My mom only gave me 1 answer, so this empathy is important. So I come here, my day is mostly talking to people, looking at it, trying to figure out, and in your mind, you're prioritizing the things. It's the role of administration is way beyond simply doing paperwork, doing signatures, and so on and so forth. Really, it's ideally. This is not just for academic administration. Ideally, administration, in my view, should be that you don't even notice that there's administration. Everything is just working. Okay. So, as a system scientist, I could say that the good system is the system's working right. There is no control mechanism.
Do you miss solving problems? Real engineering problems, not just sitting in the office.
No. This is. I mean, think about you're in bioengineering, right? I mean, the body is a complex system that's working just fine. You don't have somebody telling this molecule needs to go this way and that one has to go. Everything just so ideally administration should be like that. So you shouldn't be seen or heard, and everything should work. And in order to do that, you just have to, at critical times, nudge it left and right a little bit so that it actually finds its own path. That's one thing. The other thing is, of course, put into place the bureaucratic and cultural elements that the system will adhere to, and by doing so, it'll be self-regulating, self-controlling, self-rectifying. You see what I mean? So typically, it's a very abstract type of work that is required here. And part of that is putting the right people in the right place. In other words, job distribution, doing that the right way.
But anticipating things that could go wrong and set up the system based on those concerns so that the system does not go wrong. And then when the system doesn't go wrong, when the system is successful, everything's working, there's no problem, it's seen as, oh, there's no problem, everything works. But really, for everything to work, you have to make sure that everything is... So you see, that's really the spirit of what we do. Now, physically, but those are intangibles. When you look at me, when the door is completely open, you look at me, you can't tell. And I'm not doing this all by myself. I have the help of a number, for example, we have our program coordinators, we sit and we think, we talk to the directorate, we come up with some strategic plans, we have to coordinate this with upper management, the mission, and the direction of the university.
So cooperation is crucial for the success.
It's crucial, but it is not it's not like a checklist that we go through and do certain things. You see what I mean? So in that sense, there's a qualitative difference between managing and say getting ready to go to school. You get up, you wash your face, you go take a shower, you brush your teeth, you put your clothes on, that you can write a checklist, and there's a certain sequence of things that you do. There are prerequisites. You have to wake up before you go to school. You have to put on your clothes before that type of stuff. But in management, it's not like that. In administrative stuff, it's not like that. And I talked about do I miss solving engineering problems? And because I consider myself as a systems engineer, this is a system, and there's a professional component to this thing. In other words, when we talk to other people who do administration, academic administration, I brag and I say, well, gentlemen, ladies, I do this as a profession, you do this as a job, because this is my research area as well. So.
Thank you for your interesting answers.
Okay, so next question is about the courses you teach at IOS. Can you tell us about which one you teach and something about them?
What an interesting question. It's interesting because all my life I taught the courses that nobody else wanted to teach. They would pick the courses, they would ask everybody, what do you want to teach? Everybody would say, I want to teach this. And they would ask me, and I'd say, whatever, I don't care. And so I would end up with all these funny courses. That's why when you look at my CV, you see that I taught courses, like I taught courses in the law school, I taught courses in social sciences, I taught courses in computers, mechanical, electrical, industrial engineering.
Hopefully genetics and bioengineering.
Statistics. Maybe genetics in the future, we can do that and so on. So because whatever's left over, I try to teach ethics, that type of stuff, for example. But next semester, I'm going to do something different.
Oh, announcement.
An announcement! Next semester, I'm going to do something different. I would like to teach, I told them, and I hope they let me, Introduction to Engineering, and also the graduation, what is it called?
Graduation project.
Graduation project course. So I get the students who are starting, and I get the students who are going. So those are the two bookends of typical engineering curricula. So that I could get a better sense of the culture among the students and maybe see what we can do with that. But then I have a third course, which is Advanced Analog Circuits.
So 3 courses.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right. So it's a light load this year, so I'll have plenty of time. I can do as many interviews as you want.
Oh, great.
Plus we have the spring festival this year to worry about, so I got to put aside some time for that.
But at the end of the semester, in May, that's far from now.
Well, May's not that far. I mean, no, that's not. Right, yeah, I can do the faculty sing and dance and stuff.
Yeah, we have some fun.
Okay, so yeah, you can count me in.
So do you have any maybe tips and tricks for being successful during university education in general, but especially in your courses that you're going to teach?
Tips. We're not allowed to take tips from students. Oh, I give them tips.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to give tips.
Professional advice, maybe?
Professional.
Yeah. Something from your experience that you found very useful.
Look, I feel that the students are exceedingly intelligent. They know life. They understand this. They don't really need advice, okay? But there's one thing that I notice, and it's not just with students. How would we put this?
Take your
One-
time, no pressure.
Are you sure? Because I can think for like hours.
Yeah, we will patiently.
Okay, when do you come back?
Okay,
In life, when you look at time, okay, you think like a year is long or a year is short, depending on where you are in life. You know? And it's difficult to judge the length of time. It's just the psychology of things. And when you're immersed in an environment, in a domain, let's say you're a student, it's almost like you're in that environment, you know. So it's like you're in water. Let's say you're in a stream. Okay, it's water, and that's the medium in which you are. But then when you step out, you realize that it was just a pool. It had a beginning and an end. But when you're in it, you don't realize that. If you close your eyes and you're in the water, you don't know that there's this thing. So I see that happening over and over again. And it happened to me on many occasions, and it happens to people on many occasions. Even life itself has a beginning and an end. But when you're living, you're just living. You know, you have your sensations, you have your friends, you have interactions, so on and so forth. So, if I were to, let's not call it a tip or an advice to students, but if I were going to be a student again, with what I know now, I would value those 4 years. You know, I would treasure those 4 years, because those 4 years are so special. You are an adult, essentially, right? You're not a kid anymore. I mean, you can go and you can serve. You can do everything an adult can do. You can get a job, you can have kids, you can do it. You know, you can fight, you can starve, you can be fed, you can feed yourself, you can feed others. You can do anything you want with those 4 years. But at the same time, you have the luxury of going to school. And all that is expected of you is to improve yourself intellectually, socially, physically. This is such a gift. And if somebody told me you have 4 years, go improve yourself. Gosh, if they told me you have 4 weeks, go improve yourself, do something for you, I would just treasure them. I would say thank you for 4 weeks probably, and then I would waste my 4 weeks. But students, because they're inside the pool and they think this is life, this is going to continue, and some of them can't wait until it ends because there's some unpleasantries involved, and they sometimes overlook that. But every single moment at the university, I think I would have spent doing something, engaging, you know, really immersing in this thing, really engaging in life, like grab life and talk to your friends, do things, have activities, do clubs, do all the homework, do somebody else's homework. Don't do it for grade, but you know, go, like in bioengineering, go do homework. Take a look at the homework that they gave at FOSS or something like that. Read their books. You know, do some social projects. If you're interested, get into politics. If you're interested, get into sports. I mean, these 4 years are such a gift. That's what I would have done if I could go back and really try to spend every moment, in a productive way.
You can always enroll new university, new program. It's never late.
It's never late. Yeah, I can enroll it.
You need 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, when I'm 65, I'll be 65 in 2 years, and according to Bosnian law, I'm retired. That'll be my 4th retirement. I retired 3 times before, but unless they change the law, they said they're going to change the law. Maybe they're going to reduce it to 60, so then I'll already retire.
Maybe there is some exception.
Maybe they're just going to prolong it, so you can work for longer.
I can work for longer. Yeah, why not? Why not?
Okay, so as you know, biological sciences are being industrialized massively. And do you think there are any overlaps between our field as bioengineering and your field as industrial engineering? And something that we could do to investigate further so we can gain more of an interdisciplinary approach?
It is being industrialized, and you're an industrial engineer. It's been satirized in your stand-up comic. It's been, what?
Like interconnection between your field and our field. That is the purpose of this.
Yeah, are there any overlaps, and what can we do to have this interdisciplinary approach?
There is always overlap. Well, okay, how much time do we have? Industrial engineering is a different subject. Okay, there are different ways of looking at it, of course, but unlike all the other engineers, all the other engineering fields, industrial engineering is somewhat unique. Most, let's say, all other engineers are pretty much defined by the area, by the application area. So, if you build cars, you're an automobile engineer, right? Automotive engineer. If you build airplanes, you're an airplane engineer, right? Aerospace engineer, aeronautics. If you deal with chemistry, you're a chemical engineer. See what I mean? If you build buildings, you're a civil engineer, right? Mechanics, you're a mechanical engineer. But if you build industry, your industrial engineer is not right. Industrial engineering is something different. Industrial engineering has to do with the intangible aspects of manufacturing. Here's a thought experiment, okay, to understand what it is. They want to build automobiles. This is the beginning of the 20th century. They want to, so they say, we're going to do this at a grand scale. The word industrial, first of all, comes from what? The Industrial Revolution type industry. That's where it comes from. Okay, it doesn't mean industry. And again, engineering, typically we define engineering as the profession that designs and builds artifacts for the benefit of humans, so that you use in your everyday life, right? Daily life. So we're going to design and build artifacts. So you're an automotive engineer, you design and build artifacts, and you make it. So you make this table. Okay, so I'm an engineer, I make this table. I calculate this, and I make this table. But when you look around, you see that there are hundreds of these tables exactly like this. Why is that? Because an engineer did not build this table. The engineer made the equipment to build this table. So the engineer did not build the car, the engineer built the factory to build the car. And the cars are now being manufactured at an industrial scale. That's what industry means. So that's why all of the cars look the same, right? So we're manufacturing things indirectly in engineering. But when you go to this industrial scale, in other words, when engineers build the infrastructure to build the products, not directly build the products, then other issues come in, the operational issues. So you have thousands of workers in a factory, you have thousands of parts coming in, you have thousands of operations. Somebody has to organize those operations, somebody has to do this, otherwise it doesn't work. Somebody has to orchestrate all this. So industrial engineering deals with the sequencing, the allocation of resources, the allocation of time, the how you store the inventory, where the parts come from, how does it flow, how fast does it go. On top of that, how do you make it so that you make it efficiently? How do you make it so that it's beneficial to society? It's also lucrative. It's also profitable in a sense, and it has value with the least amount. So those things become part. So as such, industrial engineers don't. So you could see an industrial engineer work in an automotive plant, in a chemical plant, in an aerospace environment, in a factory, but also in social systems. You can go to a large hospital where you have hundreds of patients, many doctors, many nurses, many rooms, many equipment, like X-ray equipment, stuff like that. How do you orchestrate that? When do they come? When do they go? Which patient goes to which room? When do you do the operation? How many people do the operation? All those things have to be done because healthcare is not at an industrial scale at a hospital. It's not one-on-one. Okay, see? Again, you have pharmaceuticals in the hospital, thousands of pills come and go, and they're dispersed, they're dispensed, and they have to go to the right place at the right time to the right person. You make one mistake, and the consequence could be dire. So that's part of the industrial engineering thing. Okay. Now, when you look at the overlap between industrial engineering and genetics, if genetics becomes at an industrial scale, so you have a product, in other words, you design and build a product, and in genetics you decide that instead of you doing it personally, you're going to have a machine, a robot, an automated machine do that thing, then you would truly have the intersection, the overlap of industrial engineering concerns and genetics. See what I mean? And that day may come when we manufacture organs, for example, replacement organs at an industrial scale. But until that time, the involvement of industrial engineering, the effect of industrial engineering could be peripheral, could be secondary. For example, we have many optimization tools. When we say, let's find the best sequence of operations, well, some of those techniques could be used in your research. Let's find the best sequence of proteins and things like that, for example, right? DNA sequencing and so on and so forth. So things like sequencing, optimization, minimum energy states, statistical analysis, all those things that we use
for that end effect could be instrumental in other engineering fields, including genetics and bioengineering. But the real overlap will happen when you have, as I said, industrial scale manufacturing in genetics. And that, I think, is still a few years away.
Yeah. So you think it's going to happen soon?
Well, I only have 6 senses, 5 plus what my mom gives me. Will that happen? Let's see. Let me think about it. You mean growing organs, for example, and I'd say maybe in 50 years. I think it's possible. The problem is not only will it be possible? Let me put it this way. I think within 50 years it'll be possible. But will it happen is a different story, because we still have, this day and age, on the planet, we have people dying of pneumonia, we have people dying of a cold, we have people dying of, simple illnesses.
It sounds like a lot of time, but really when you think more about it, it's very soon.
Very soon. 50 years is not that long. Yeah, I may retire by then, but...
The fifth time maybe?
In the 5th time, I'll retire by then. I think it'll be possible to do that. For example, ask me when I was a kid, okay, year 2000, everybody's going to go to space. We're going to have hotels on the moon and in orbit and stuff like that. Is it possible to go to space? Yes. Is everybody doing it? No. You see, it's the same thing. So, is it possible to have renewable energy and not fossil fuels? Yes. Is everybody doing it? No. That's absolutely. So, I think the answer there is more realistically, it will be possible within 50 years. It may even be possible now. I bet you can keep a person alive for a long time now.
Okay, so you said you also thought ethics.
Yes.
Do you think there will be some ethical problems with this?
Oh, there are tremendous ethical problems with that. There are tremendous ethical problems with that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, where do you start? There's a song like that, Where Do I Begin? I mean, where do I begin?
So do you think maybe that will be the main obstacle for this
No.
reality?
No, because some people do, some people won't. Why would it be an obstacle? It'll bother some people more than the others. I mean, look at the world is very unfair right now, right? Look at what we do to the environment. Look at capitalism. Look how bad consumerism is. Look how bad social media, what they call surveillance capitalism is, with Instagram and Facebook and so on. Are they ethical? Probably not, but according to most codes, ethical codes. Ethics, by the way, you have to have a code. It's somebody's ethics, some group's ethics. It's not an absolute ethic. There's no such thing as the absolute right, absolute wrong, of course. But so according to most of the codes, it's probably wrong. But are we doing it? Yeah, sure. Why not?
So you also said we should use the time at the university as much as we can.
Yeah.
So do you have any favorite extracurricular activities that you would maybe suggest to our colleagues and friends from the genetics and bioengineering department?
Well, back during the Great Depression, people used to do pole sitting in the U.S. You get a big pole and you go sit on top of it for 6 months. That's something I would not recommend. No, what you should do is nowadays go travel, meet as many people as you want, as you can. Go to the rural areas, go to the villages. I did that when I was very fortunate. My friends would go sit and play cards, and I would get in the car and I would drive around to the rural areas in Florida. So I knew all the little towns and all the little places. Meet with different types of people. Try to find people who are different, that don't think like you, don't talk like you, don't look like you. Talk to them. Try to talk to them. Most of them you can, some of them you can't, but you have to try a couple of times. And if you get beaten up, call me, that's fine. You know, I mean, this is just max. Okay, if we use industrial engineering terms, maximize your exposure to the difference, because later on you'll have probably an opportunity to go back and sort everything out. Let's see, traveling abroad nowadays is easy, so you can go any place in Europe, get on a train and go, or bus and go. Bosnia is very lucky in that sense because everything's in pretty much walking distance, if not biking distance, if not train distance or bus distance. You still get a Euro pass if you're a student. You get a couple of months pass, and you can get on any train you want.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so do that. Get a backpack, go travel, make friends, see what other people are doing, play chess,
Just not chess.
poker.
Backgammon.
I can't figure out backgammon, so I'm
Oh, we will teach you.
yeah, this is the thing.
Next time.
Okay,
We will play
I have
backgammon.
tried so much to play backgammon. For some reason, it just doesn't click with me.
It's not so difficult, believe us.
I know it's not so difficult, but for me to win is difficult. Every time I play, I lose.
We can let you lose.
And people don't like me to because I go, okay, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that's a matter of practice, like
Really?
everything else in life.
Ah.
So you'll relatively get into it.
Practice. But I do like playing cards because the only thing is I don't like keeping score, but I like playing cards.
Which game, for example?
Anything, really.
Rummy?
Rummy is good. Things like Queen Spades or bridge type games, you know, bridge like games, like bridge, kings, so on and so forth. Those are good games. Yeah, Rummy is more chance.
Okay, great, because we know
We like that game.
You like Rummy? Okay, so yeah, we can play.
Do you know Uno? You know
It's
it?
completely chance. Yeah,
It's fun.
We can. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You're right. When I was in high school, we used to play poker with friends. I don't know. I guess it was something like, oh yes, we were playing poker. Like the cowboy movies, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I always wanted to be the good.
Did you wear glasses?
Yes.
Oh.
And I wore a vendetta too, but.
You're so into it
I was so
again.
into it. I wanted to be the good, but then I couldn't be the good. There was somebody better than me. So I wanted to be the bad, and I couldn't be the bad either. So, but I never liked poker because it's all about acting, and I can't act.
Yeah, totally.
So
Thank
got
you
a
so
book.
much, Steve.
you're
I have
welcome.
one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Except for the retirement plan, do you have any other plans for the future?
Yes, I want to live.
Do you have any particular amount of time you want to live for more?
Yeah, more is a good word. Yes, more is good. I live every day as if it's my last day, because I know one of these days it'll be the case.
That's a good way to live.
Better than the alternative.